This podcast is a collaboration between Costard and Touchstone Productions and the Dads from the Crypt podcast.
For relaxing times, make it Suntory time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the How Not to Make a Movie podcast. I'm Alan Katz. When human beings began crisscrossing the globe, they took more than just strange and exotic products with them from place to place. They took stories too. And despite sometimes vast cultural differences, very, very often those stories translated perfectly well. Different cultures might appreciate stories differently or for different reasons, but the essence of those stories translated and translates just fine across international borders. Great stories do not get lost in translation. In this episode, we're going to talk about cinematic storytelling as an international language, which really it is. Early movie makers like Edwin Porter and D.W. Griffith, they more or less invented the cinematic language. Using close-ups and cutaways, even film editing itself were afterthoughts to the initial idea of rolling film through a movie camera. But once all of those afterthoughts became real-time thoughts, filmmaking became the most powerful human creation of all. And anyone who can master the language, well, it's kind of like having a magical power. Christian Schuh, our guest today, has that magical power. Most of the time, he applies his considerable storytelling prowess to the commercial world. The trick there is to mesh up product story with a potential buyer's story. If a buyer can see the advertised product as part of their life, see their story and the product story being meshed together, they're much more likely to buy. Christian is German, but he's based in Malaysia and has clients all over the world. Clients who value Christian's ability to use storytelling to make their products and services more relatable, more accessible, more of a story that buyers just got to hear, that translates into their life. Kind of like this episode. Here's Christian. Storytelling is your stock in trade. You are not just a storyteller, but someone who can teach storytelling.
I try my best.
Can you think of the first story that grabbed you when you were a kid?
I don't know exactly the story, but I was reading a lot of books when I was a kid. So, when you read a book and you are like drawing the story that you're reading into your own pictures, kind of thing. So I would say
Let me refine the search. All right. Can you remember the first story you ever wrote?
yes.
Cool. Hey, I know the first story I ever wrote. I know how old I was. I was in fifth grade. I know when I did it, and I don't know what compelled me to do it, but I did it as a school project. It was outside the bounds of what they were asking for. It was much more than was asked for.
Yes.
And I don't know what compelled me to vomit this, to imagine this whole thing, and then just to write it all in longhand, as we all had to back in the day. And yet I don't know that I could have gone on without having done that. I like I said, I was in fifth grade, so 8 or 9.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I think it might have been even earlier, if not mistaken, third or fourth grade.
You
We
prodigy.
we needed we needed to write a story about like one beautiful day in our life. And so I closed my eyes because there was not like any memory I had, or maybe I didn't wanted to share that. So I just closed my eyes and I was seeing myself on on a green grass, like some kind of huge garden with a lot of flowers. And I've been jumping over fences to go always further and further. And I've seen this, and then I've just written it down. I started to write it down. The task was one A4 page, the standard page. I
And how many
think
did you fill?
I think 6 or 7, but
Uh,
then only I was realizing that I might push the pushed it to a limit where I thought like, okay, maybe I should finally come to the end now.
well, one of the things about being a young artist is that we don't fully understand. It's just the talent. There's no discipline to it whatsoever. And yeah, there is I as a young writer, a sentence. I would start with a sentence. I
Yes.
had no story in my head, but I'd write this terrific sentence and another couple of good sentences. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, the sentence, whatever idea was behind the sentences kind of ran out of steam. And that was the end of it. And
Yeah.
so lots of voice, but nothing, no storytelling knowledge that would take that voice and do
Zero.
something with it.
Zero. Just like imagination. At least for me back then when I was that young, just imagination. I was just thinking about, yeah, what I want to do, and then I was writing that down. What I would do in this situation, what I want to have a look at, what I want to experience. Yeah, and then just writing it down from the green meadows. I went to the forest and found these hunting houses where they lean out, to shoot some animals, that
Mhm.
kind of thing. And from there went on, and trees and cave, and it was not like maybe it didn't make sense, but it was fun to go that way, especially because when I was writing, I was thinking, oh yeah, and then I was including that I had another idea, another way of doing that, and then including that into that story. Like endless. I've been able to go on endless, but of course that's not the point of a story.
Although, I would be willing to bet that you also experienced for the first time in your life that remarkable experience. When you write, you become
Yeah.
transported to that place about which you are writing.
Yes.
And that world becomes as real as the one you exited to get into that world.
It does. My imagination was always huge when I was a child. I mean, same like today. I didn't actually change much, but it has become more realistic. Back then, it was all magical and big and huge, and there was no limit. Not even the sky was the limit. No problem. Just go beyond that. But of course, today with experience and being more an adult, yeah,
Can
it
can
limits, or I limit it.
can I suggest the word discipline?
Yeah, that fits pretty well.
I mean, that really is what education does.
Yes.
You begin to discipline yourself because of what you're comparing yourself to, and suddenly you begin to understand not just your art but the craft required
Yes.
to, you know as I think of it, being a creative person.
Yes.
We all have this prism inside our heads, and life enters that prism through our eyes, our ears, our senses, and it refracts. And that refracted thing
Hmm.
is our art.
Yeah.
And I I know I think I can point to the moment in my education when I, for the first time, understood the craft of storytelling. I went to college at a place called Vassar College. I was a drama major, and among the requirements were a bunch of classes in dramatic literature, of course. And one of the professors, well, the dramatic literature professor at the time was a wonderful guy named Everett Sprinshorn, who was one of the world authorities on Strindberg and Ibsen. And his lecture on ghosts, on Ibsen's ghosts, was he, it's about Mrs. Alving, who she's been forced to marry a man who had syphilis, and she's had a son, Oswald, and the play is about, really comes to the day when Oswald comes home to die. And it's all about the sins of the father being visited upon the son. And he, in his lecture, we had all read it, so we all knew what it was, but he deconstructed and he took us back really to the emotional moments. And when he brought us to the moment at the end of the play when Oswald is dying and Mrs. Alving wheels him downstage, and he's looking to the back of the theater and she's standing behind him so he cannot see her, and he's saying, "Oh, look at the sunset, mother. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it lovely?" And of course, the sun that's setting, ironically, is this one. And as he got to the end of the lecture, I suddenly understood what a story could do if you set it up, attended to it, and paid it off just so. And I think for the first time, I understood story, not that I could duplicate it or create it, but I understood it as a goal that you should have when you sit down and you start typing or editing or cutting, electronically.
Whatever. Yes.
Whatever the medium is that with which you are composing a story.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a way to do it. All right.
Absolutely.
I just confessed to mine. What did you have such a moment yourself, Christian?
Not that I remember a certain moment. Like I mentioned already, I've been always very imaginative in my head. Throughout my childhood, I was like, I don't know, some would say fantasizing. I was in my own world, kind of, and always I've been seeing this world. For me, it was very clear there are like two worlds. In one world, I can do whatever I want, and in the other world, I need to go to school. I need to help my parents bring out the rubbish, But I always like to be more in my imaginative world. Like I told you, I read a lot of books when I was young, and before.
What kind of books did you read? Now, you are German.
Yes.
And this is a rich culture with a long cultural past.
Yes.
Filled with all kinds of iconic stories and images. Was that a lot of what you read?
In fact, not. When I was 12 or 13, I found Stephen King's books, and I started to read this. I started with the biggest one, I guess, is It.
That was your culture, the culture of Stephen King.
Actually, yes, that's
awesome.
That's
awesome. That's fucking awesome. Great.
I mean, I been reading, like, let's say, kids' books before that, but they are not very sophisticated or very special. They are just like crime stories and four friends or three friends doing this, doing that, and suddenly being in a situation. Okay, but Stephen King was a different level because he's using 10 pages, literally to describe one character.
Mm.
And I've been diving into this, and I remember as if it was yesterday, it took me around 11 days to finish it. Got over 1,000 pages and is a lot to read, but I couldn't stop. I was reading until 3 a.m. in the night. Next day, I needed to go to school, reading under the blanket, like that. So nobody will see the light, of the light, of the torch light that I was using, and those kind of things. I was so drawn to this. And from there, I read many Stephen King books. I read the whole Dark Tower series, Christine, yeah, like Cemetery of the Pets, Pet Cemetery. I'm not sure
Mhm.
how it. I mean, I read it in German, obviously. Yeah. So I'm not 100% familiar with the English titles, but yeah, from
Have
this
you read them?
side,
Have you read them only in German? Have you ever read them in English?
it I read in English. Yeah, when I was older, I've been reading it in English. And
Could
actually,
could you
yeah.
tell a difference between the two? What was did you feel like it was faithful? That all the German translations were faithful, or could you not tell?
Um, Okay, the German language is bigger than the English language. You will have for one English word, you will have 3 or 4 German words that all mean something else, that like kind of mean the same, but if you want to express this kind of feeling, you will use a different word. So the English version, of course, is the original. I like the original. Nowadays, I only watch TV shows and series. Only I watch them in the original language. Mostly it's English, so yeah. But I would say the German version, okay, for me being a German, was more nice to read because I could tell a difference between a word that is, yeah, have a different meaning, a slightly different meaning in German, but in English it would be the same word. So, yeah, I may say like this. When I was older a little bit, I read Harry Potter both in English and in German. Um, English I like better, for example. Yeah, but that might also depend on the translation. Sometimes the translation is super, super good, and sometimes, yeah, well,
Language is very important to me in storytelling.
it
Uh,
is.
the fact that I write in English, I feel this tremendous connection to the language, to the words, really and truly. When I was in college, I studied French. I studied
Mhm.
French for school, and most of my academic life, I studied French.
Okay.
And I understood French. I could speak French. I had the damnedest time writing in French because I could not. I have always been a writer, really, from
Yes.
when I was a little kid, and so I think in English sentence structure. I'm wedded to the language, and I think in English. I
Yes.
think in it,
Hmm.
and going to try to write in French, I could not think in the language, so it was always badly translated, mauled. When I was in college, I had a professor named Ilse Lipschitz who explained to me what my problem was, and I was grateful to know it wasn't just me being stupid. It was to a degree, but that the two languages are very, very different, of course. One being, the Romance language, French,
Yeah.
uh, which is an entirely different structure. But even by its nature, she said it's an analytical language.
Yeah.
English, which is based very largely on German, by its nature, and this is true of
Yes.
German, are descriptive languages.
Yes.
In English, because of the structure of a sentence, the boy was tall
Hmm.
and and heavy and pallid, and I can load up the adjectives
Yes.
after the noun.
Yes.
Whereas in French and every other Romance language, the adjective goes before the noun, and so you're kind of limited. And so there's just the whole way that you go to describe things. It changes everything. And so
Yes.
I understood it in the abstract. What my problem was, I could do nothing about it in the real world.
Yeah.
But like I said, German and English being very similar in many, many ways, because English flowed in large part from the Germanic tribes that invaded
Yes.
England. And when I asked earlier about culture and its connection to your storytelling, all right, so Stephen King was your Bible,
More or less, yes.
but being really still coming, I assume your family has been in Germany for a while.
Yeah.
How, I guess you've been there since you kicked the Romans out of Italy, yeah?
Uh,
Did you go
Actually,
back that far?
the Romans visited us and built a few churches and so on.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
before that, before the Romans came, actually the ancestors, the Alemannic, the Celts, they were there already.
Hmm.
So yeah, pretty much long history.
That's a whole other story unto itself. But this has something to do with your storytelling origins, let's say.
Mhm.
Uh, you cannot help having a German worldview. I know my worldview is American. My American worldview just got turned upside down on its head. Has everything that's going on in the world and what's happening now in Germany, do you find your sense of culture being impacted?
Yes, yes, full stop. Yes. Um, but what you need to know is I'm German, but I'm actually living in Malaysia. But my clients are mostly in Europe. Most of them are in Germany, but they are also in the UK, in France, in Spain, in Italy. So I'm traveling a lot. I'm seeing a lot.
You're
I'm
Malaysia based, huh?
Yeah. 1 month I'm in Germany, another month I'm back home in Malaysia. And it's mixing up like this all the time. I'm literally flying between the two continents 6 to 8 times a year.
Why
So
Malaysia? Why are you based in Malaysia?
my wife is Malaysian Chinese, so what to do?
Perfect. Hey. That is the perfect answer. Uh, that must be a fascinating place to live.
Yes. And that's why when you say impacted by culture, hell yes. I see so much differences and so many different approaches also to storytelling. Culture differences, culture clashes all the time. And this is also what's fascinating me. Then I always fly via Dubai. So I'm also spending time in Dubai. I have friends there, company there. So I'm like, yeah, this kind of person always traveling that part of the world, which is actually the opposite side of the US, if not mistaken. This this kind of route is what I basically take all the time. And then, of course, my clients really range from they're based in Italy, producing mostly for Italian and European market. They are based in the UK, producing globally. They're based in Denmark, in Sweden, in Germany, of course, in France. So when it comes to storytelling, I try my best to first of all understand who is this video, no matter what. It's a feature, it's a featurette, it's a commercial, it's a short clip, it's just social media content. For who is this for? Who is going to see this? Who's the target group? And what this target group is supposed to do after that? Do they just need to feel good and happy, or do they need to click a button? That's a big difference. So I try to figure that out at the beginning. My clients in Malaysia, totally different approach. We have a very diverse mix of ethnicities in Malaysia. We have Malay, we have 30% Chinese, 20% Indian, and a few mixed. So who is the video going to target? Because you are producing a video differently for a Muslim than for a Christian or for a Buddhist or for a Hindu. Different, depending on the topic, of course, depending on the product. For this target group, number A letter A works, the plan A works. For them, plan B or plan C works. And this is what you need to find out, what I have to find out at the earliest moment. And then I need to decide, okay, am I able to make it work out? Yeah? All right, then we can proceed. So this is when we're talking about culture, that's quite diverse.
As you storytell across cultures, what would you say are the common threads of storytelling across all the cultures across which you storytell?
Okay, not a nice one is fear.
Fear.
Fear will work in any language, in any country. But what also works is dreams. If you don't name the dream, but you leave it open to imagination, that will literally work in every culture. Because maybe the guy in Dubai who is driving 3 Range Rovers and having 4 houses is dreaming of the 5th house, while that little boy in India is dreaming about having a mom and dad, you know? Dreams, if you leave them open for imagination, they will work globally. They will work for everyone. As long as you don't fill the black box that is over the audience's head, you are fine to go. But of course, there are huge differences. I mean, in the West, just to give you an example, in the West, the color green is usually fitted with wellness, health, nature, spa, kind of.
In
Country.
California, the color green also means marijuana is for sale.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is not working in any Muslim country because green is the color of Islam. So if you see green, it has to do with religion. Totally different approach, totally different concept. A big, let's say, a piece of water or like a piece of shit, actually, you can step in if you do it wrong.
Oh, indeed. And
Yeah.
all the more reason for cultural sensitivity, cross-cultural
very much.
sensitivity.
Yes.
What, as you work with your clients, what exactly is the service as a storyteller that you are providing?
Okay. Actually, most of my clients call me or sending me an email if they need to sell something and they don't know how, or they don't know how to approach it. So I'm starting with storytelling at the first place. I need to talk like I said before, I need to ask them questions. I need to ask, okay, what is in your head? What do you want? Who is the target group? What is the product? To whom we are selling? All right. After all of this is clear, and of course I need to ask, do you have any storyline already? What worked for you in the past? What haven't worked for you? I need to know all of this. After I know that, then I will sit down and think about the market, about all that I know, and I will come up with usually 2 to 3 ideas, basically rough ideas. Then I will present them and they will say yes or no. 99% they say yes, lucky me. So they choose one or two or all. So I
much
go
the
ahead.
better.
Yeah, the more the better. And then I will produce that as a film because more, yeah, those storytelling that I do is cinematic storytelling. So we're talking about video clips, social media content, broadcast commercials. If nowadays it has become rare because the clients I have, they don't advertise on TV because the products or the target group is not watching TV. Yeah, basically. The products are simply too expensive. It's super luxury niche for what they do that. They go on social media, they go on YouTube, they bring the whole film on their website and
you
that's it.
target. No, this is completely targeted to the people who would buy.
Exactly.
And you're cutting out all the people who would have no interest. Really, window shopping at best.
Yes.
Understood.
Yes.
So really, what you're doing, the product has a story.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I guess the person, the target, the buyer also has a story. And
Exactly.
the task really is to wed the product's story to the buyer's story so that they see that buyer meets product, buyer buys product, buyer lives happily ever after with product.
Yeah. Yes, there could be one story, but it's it's a little bit more diverse because, okay, let me give you two examples. Um, Two of my clients, one is Macintosh Labs, actually from the US, a very niche but popular high-end producer of very nice hi-fi equipment. We're talking about an amplifier for $10,000 and more. And then there is another company called Bang& Olufsen. It's a luxury, yeah, you heard about them? Okay, they are from Denmark. All right. But it couldn't be more like almost opposite the marketing and the approach of it. Macintosh Labs is a very manly brand. Yeah, everything is it. You buy an amplifier and it screams for man. Yeah, it really does. You have black built up
It,
those
it
those
actually has a sperm count.
yeah tubes. It's really like oh yeah. Basically, what you need is forget about telling a story. Film it and put in some smoke. Yeah, maybe left and right side. You put a whiskey and a cigar. There you go. Sold.
But
Yeah.
that is its story.
Yes.
And it might not be a complicated story, but
No. But more or less that's it. Because buyers of these items are 99.9% men. And if the wife let them buy that, like allow the husband to buy that just because like otherwise he's going crazy. All right, let's put that into his music room and close the door, lock the door after that, and throw away the key. There you go. Enjoy your life with this device. Bang& Olufsen, on the other hand, totally different story. Very diverse buyer group. 50-50. 50% men, 50% women. Why? Because you can literally, those are objects for your house. And those are objects you can you can choose what color, what wood do you like, how is the finishing of it? Does it fit to the bed? No, honey, but it fits to the wardrobe. So that's why when it comes to storytelling about this, you need to show a home, not just the device. The device doesn't matter. This is like, look what I got, look what I can afford. That's one part. And the other part is, um, this fits perfectly next to my statue and the whatever ugly picture they got. But it reflects their lifestyle. It makes them calm. It's not just a loudspeaker. It's a it's a lifestyle object. Totally different approach, totally different storytelling. We need the women in the boat and the woman will decide, yes, we buy, or we don't buy. The woman only decides this. The man can just say yes or no, and I want it bigger or I want it smaller. That's it. Seriously.
But it's
Seriously,
funny,
Alan, that's it.
but it's funny. It's been reduced in a way to like many other facets of a relationship,
Yes.
including a sexual relationship, because there is a dynamic of that to it. Hey,
It is.
that is the art of selling. It originates in the art of telling,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
You
this is
know,
exactly what you just described.
yeah, the target group for Macintosh, for example, is not only rich people, because we are talking about 10 to 20 grand for one device, and you need 3 or 4 devices to have that work together. And you still need some loudspeakers that cost the same amount, just the loudspeaker. So we're talking about, if you want to have a nice setup, we're talking about 50, 60 grand. But there are people who save for this maybe 20 years and then they buy that because that's their dream.
Which is the other thing that you talked about, and you got to have your dream.
But the
Oh,
Bang&
there's always a
Olufsen,
but.
yeah, the Bang& Olufsen client is the one who, and I met a lot of them throughout my relationship, my business relationship with them. I met a lot of those clients, and they are more like, honey, we need a bigger screen. We need a bigger TV. All right, then we buy the $50,000 dollar TV from Bang& Olufsen. Sure, because it fits very nice into the living room. It's a different approach. They have 2 boats already somewhere. I mean, if they were in the US, they are in Naples or somewhere like that. They have a nice yacht there. They have a big mansion. They are successful and they show it. They love to show it. They have 3 or 4 Rolex. Luckily, they don't wear them all together, at the same time.
At least they're tasteful too.
That they are tasteful, definitely. Yeah. The women always look very nice. They go to the salon, they take care of themselves. It's important for them. But maybe also that lady never really worked in her life. That's another aspect, you know? She's staying at home, she's having her cafe with her friends and so on. And there is a Bang& Olufsen speaker, and there is another one. Oh, and here's also one. So it's like, it's a
Mm-hmm.
different lifestyle we are talking about. That's why they are not advertising, like, at least not those products. They're advertising their headphones, they're advertising the a Beolit 20, for example, is like a portable Bluetooth loudspeaker. That's what they are advertising a little bit. But at the same time, they are not advertising much because they don't need to.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's like Lamborghini also not advertising. The people who want to drive a Lamborghini, they go there and buy one.
They know the Muhammad will come to that mountain.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yes, exactly.
Your medium is filmmaking.
Yes.
If we had we'll have some subsequent conversations, Christian. Now this I promise you. But from a filmmaking perspective, what are the movies that grabbed you early and got you passionate about this particular medium of storytelling?
My God. I'm not sure if I can name all of them. Because every movie got something, no matter it is nice or not, but at the end there is always something that is told good. Maybe not the whole movie, but a certain scene or something like that. So it's not easy for me to tell. But okay, let me tell a few maybe directors. So you know already the direction. For sure, Steven Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, Wes Anderson, the Coen brothers, amazing. Fargo, for example, it's crazy amazing, in my opinion. Yeah. But to be honest, what is not nice what they did. So yeah, it's not easy to tell. What had some impact of me was for sure Jurassic Park, 1993. I watched that pretty early, earlier than I was allowed to. But yeah, when it's coming on TV, you can't control that much, right? Uh,
What impressed you about it? Okay, it's almost a stupid question because come on, man, it's dinosaurs. It's dinosaurs coming to life. But but other people did dinosaurs come into life. What made those dinosaurs so much more, I don't
Maybe it
know,
was not
compelling?
the dinosaurs itself. I liked the way. To be honest, I don't know the director or producer. I have no idea now who did that. I just know John Williams did the
The
score.
score.
That's what I
Mhm.
know. But right now, Steven Spielberg, of course, yeah, did that. All right. But what I liked about it was that the first, until we've seen the first dinosaur. How long was it? Half an hour? 45 minutes? Amazing storytelling. This movie is about dinosaurs, and we don't see one for for half of the film. But then, yeah, I just liked it. I mean,
Uh,
the story is more or less a pretty simple one. It's a standard story, a hero story. Yeah, let's say like that. The typical kind of story. But the way it is told, the way the characters are shown it's just different. You have the evil guy, the chubby one, who want to steal those embryos and so on. Yeah, he's like kind of meeting with some spy kind of guy. Then we have the owner of this Jurassic Park who means it good but plays God, and of course it doesn't work out. And we have the crazy scientists, we have the reasonable scientists, we have the woman who is helping, who want to help everyone, yeah? And the kids, of course, bring a different level of dramatic into this movie. But yeah, like whatever can go wrong goes wrong in this and yeah I don't know why I like it but it's creating a whole kind of experience. The story is told until the end. You are not left alone or you don't have a sudden twist at the end that doesn't make any sense. Like for example, in Knowing, where half of Knowing with Nicolas Cage is a great movie, and then the other half is like, okay, uh, now it's aliens. All right, yeah, and you're like, somehow it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel wholesome, you know. So yeah, when it comes to storytelling. I mean, of course, we also know the big studios. Sorry that I talk like that. Yeah, the big studios also sometimes say, "Oh, here we don't like the script. The end. We need to change this. We need to change that." And as a creative person, as a writer who literally bleeded into the script, it's the own blood, it's the own sweat, it's the own soul will be then cut in half, more or less, and left with a bleeding heart. Yeah, but okay, to wrap this up, yeah, that was my maybe influence early on. Matrix, when I was a teenager, I watched that amazing film, the first one. Uh, I don't even have a specific genre that I like. If it's a good film, if it's a good story, I just like to watch it, no matter what kind of.
The word that comes to mind as you described the things that impressed you, that stuck, was the word epic.
Yeah,
You are attracted to old school epic storytelling with hey, there are rules. In order to have that beginning, middle, and end, yeah, you got to
Yeah.
drop you want a piece of information to pay off over here, you got to drop it over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any later than that, it's going to seem like, oh man, that's too convenient. But there are rules of a kind because the audience understands them. But then again, I'd say it's like the cinematic language itself, the audience understands the cinematic language like they do the language they speak.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Because a well-made film will work no matter how crazy the story is or how it is told. As an example, Memento, Christopher Nolan, one of his first movies, if not the first one. What a movie, but totally different told to what we are used to. I mean, for sure, this is not the first approach that somebody tells a story the other way around, but how it is told and in those kind of flashbacks is different. It's yeah, it's interesting. The of course, maybe you can only watch that one or two times, or maybe you need some time in between, some gap until you can rewatch it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know too much. But to me, is a fine way of describing it. It's a fine way of telling a story, and it's a unique way. So again, this is a wholesome experience. It closes maybe late, but it's a closed story. It doesn't leave you behind frustrated. You know, when there is a movie that is based on true events, yeah, that can leave you back frustrated. I agree. I appreciate that. If the reality is not nice, how can the movie be nice? You know, it doesn't make any sense to add something that the audience will feel, oh, so nice. You know, it doesn't. Also, it doesn't need to be a happy end to be a good film. It can be a sad ending, but I want to have some kind of ending. Some either it leaves you to some philosophical thoughts, to some reflection about life in general, you know, or it closes the story and everybody's happy. All right, yeah, but it needs to give you something. I mean, otherwise, why you take 2 hours or 1.5 hours and you're watching a movie if you are leave, yeah, you're left back frustrated, you know, like, okay, I wasted my 90 minutes, you know, that's not nice. But that happened as well in the past. I mean, yeah,
Oh, it happens all the time, but
yeah,
that's part of the gamble we take when we sit down to watch or
yes,
listen to a story. It
yes.
it certainly seems like in so many ways cinema is an international storytelling language.
It is. I truly believe it is. And what I like, especially, you know, I talked before that I live here and there and I travel a lot. I also watch sometimes, not often, but I watch TV in other countries, in other language. I don't understand Chinese a little bit from my wife, and I learned 1.5 years, but my God, it's so crazy hard to learn. Huh? But of course, I can follow little bit sometimes the conversation. Okay, however, their movies are built up differently. I mean, they have a story. The story might be the same, but the approach is different. How they conduct that, they bring in a lot more drama. I don't know if you have ever watched a Spanish telenovela.
A
It's
little bit, yes.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
crazy. Every 2 minutes, somebody is crying, laughing, dying, giving birth. It's only like this, you know. The emotional is like the emotion is like a roller coaster, not like life. But I don't know why they are into that. It's very successful, so it works for the audience. All right, there you go.
Why do people like scary movies or
Yeah,
scary stories? But
yeah,
hey, that could be a conversation and will be a conversation for a whole other time. Christian,
true.
what a pleasure this has been to meeting you and having this conversation about storytelling. I am absolutely dead on serious, we must continue this conversation in greater detail because there's.
I would love to.
I'm ending the conversation now because there are 10 different directions we could go into, and each would be an hour. And holy cow! Thank you so much, and yeah, and thank you everyone, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time. The How Not to Make a Movie podcast is executive produced by me, Alan Katz, by Gil Adler, and by Jason Stein. Our artwork was done by the amazing Jody Webster, and Jason Jody, along with Mando, are all the hosts of the fun and informative Dads from the Crypt podcast. Follow them for what my old pal the Crypt Keeper would have called terrific crypt content.